Good afternoon. They told us that we could take between 3 and 5 minutes, but I've been in Tucson over 30 years, so if I go a little bit over, please go ahead and bear with me. Although I was born and raised in New Mexico and still call it my home, I am definitely a very proud relocated Tucsonan. It has become my second home. So I want to thank the Pima County Sports Hall of Fame Search Committee, the Board of Directors for this very prestigious honor. I'm very appreciative of the recognition of my contributions, both as an athlete and now as a strength coach. When you are lucky enough to be inducted into, this is my 5th Hall of Fame, not to brag, but I think it's pretty amazing, and I feel very, very blessed. There are so many people that have helped you along the way, so I'd really like to do my best to thank them today and acknowledge them. Number one, to Loren, who keeps me grounded and keeps me humble and talks me off the ledge and always gasses me up. And to my mom, and if you know me at all, you know she was the literal driving force early in my athletic career, taking me to every practice and every game, and I did it all. I played volleyball and basketball and soccer and tennis and baseball. And so I thank you to my mom, who literally drove me everywhere. And despite her recent Parkinson's diagnosis, she's still as feisty as ever. Thank you to my coach, Meg Stone, who gave a cocky 17-year-old freshman the much-needed tough love, which has basically molded me into the strength coach that I've become. Thank you also to Chris Murray and Bob Myers, the latter of which recruited me to the University of Arizona. Thank you to Dan Worth, who, on Meg's suggestion, hired me as a strength coach with 0 experience, which in this day and age is actually kind of crazy. But thank you to Dan Worth. So thank you to the coaches at the University of Arizona with which I had the pleasure to work with. First and foremost, Coach Mike Candrea, who made me feel like I was part of something very, very special. We were a match made in heaven. We were intense and disciplined and focused and hardworking, and we won a lot of games together. I also would like to thank Jenny Dalton-Hill and Nancy Evans and Letty Pineda and Brandy Shriver and Linnea Manuma and Tony Mascarenas, Lovey Jung, and of course, Jenny Finch. I'd also like to thank Coach Lute Olson, may he rest in peace, who took the word of a player, Lauren Woods, who thought I'd be a great asset to the basketball program. And Coach O agreed, and at the time, I was one of only 2 women who was training Division I men's basketball. So to some of the hoopers, Luke Walton, Richard Jefferson, Gilbert Arenas, Jason Garner, Gene Edgerson, and of course, Lauren Woods, I thank you. To Coach Joan Bonvincini in my first recruiting class at the U of A, that included current women's basketball coach, Adia Barnes, and D'Angela Minter, and Marty Alexander, and Miko Giordano, and Brenda Pantoja, and Felicity Willis, and Gigi Sweet, which I think is the best basketball name in the history of basketball. I'd also like to send a shout out to the trainer at that time, MB Illyria, who at this time still teaches me about the rehab side of strength and conditioning. I'd like to thank Dave Ruvio and players Stephanie Vane, Barb Bell, Stephanie Saragosa, and Shannon Terragrosa. I'd like to thank Dr. Mary Roby and Rocky LaRose for showing me how to be a strong, confident woman in a man's world. So thank you, Rocky. I left the U of A in 2002, and I was very fortunate to fall into the hands of the U.S. Paralympic team. I'm not sure where my fellow inductee is. The U.S. Paralympic team, yes, Pima Community College and South Point Catholic High School. Thank you to the U.S. Paralympic field and track team. For some of you that get it, field and track. Those athletes, they embraced me from day one. It's probably some of the most gratifying work I have ever done. So thank you, Ed Cockrell, Jill Kennedy, Scott Danberg, Carlos Leon, and Gabe Diaz de Leon. Thank you to Pima College, and Coach Jim Monaco, and Coach Jerry Stitt, and Edgar Soto, and most importantly, my fellow inductee, who I love so much, Coach Todd Holthaus. who also took a chance and took the word of a player and hired me. And 9 years later, and numerous region championships, Coach, here we are. So thank you, Tia Morrison and Abby Marsigian and Deanna Daniels and Nadi Carey and Alyssa Pettis and Gabby Ion. Before I talk about South Point, I'd like to recognize a special family whose belief in me led to my current role at South Point, Jerry Ledesma and his wife Vivian, and Joey and Stevie Ledesma, both of whom attended South Point and who introduced me to the personal business side of strength and conditioning, the one-on-one side. So thank you to the Ledesmas, who also introduced me to the Dombrowskis and the Mutter Pearls, who I also love very, very much, who are here to support me. And to the Slanias, and the Blazes, and the Kays, and the Rogers. I thank you guys so very much. Thank you to South Point Catholic, President Kay Sullivan, Principal Artis Martin, and the Athletic Director, Phil Grunsfelder, who just might be the best boss I have ever had. He really might. South Point has been amazing to me, and I really cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you to Coach Dan Preble, Brian Holstrom, let's see now, there's a ton of them. Heather Moore Martin, Joe Luevano, Eric Castillo, Stacy Redondo, who rest in peace as well. Amy Beret Rocha, Tricia Stan, and Eric Rogers. And lastly, a special thank you to Coach Dennis Benet, who overlooked what every football coach was thinking and what Mike Stoops actually said was, "You got a woman running your weight room?" To which he responded, "Yes, I do. Just watch." So thank you, Coach Dennis Benet, and the hundreds of players and athletes that have come through my weight room and have left better human beings. Thank you to the Pima County Sports Hall of Fame, and go Lancers.